Hello there, ghouls and goblins, spooks and creeps. Welcome to the 3-year and 1 episode of the Metal Summit. We are really excited, as always, to hang out with you guys, rock out with you guys, and bond with you guys, and kick off the weekend in the middle of the week here on Wednesday and have a whole lot of fun while we're doing it. We appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in with us. On behalf, we've got Angel Alamo, and we've got myself, and of course, on behalf of Psycho Steve and Bobby Dreyer as well. We are really super excited to be joined tonight to talk a little bit of dark and heavy and creepy and just all out fun and take a look at what the bats dragged in. So we are going to bring in our good friend and again, appreciate him very much. Frontman for Motorplasma, as well as, of course, Carnivore A.D. We have got Baron Misuraca joining us this evening. Baron, thank you so much, my friend, and welcome to the Metal Summit.
You're very welcome, Jay. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. Can't think of a better way to spend the evening, you know.
Definitely. So
congratulations.
Hopefully there's not too much light on you, and hopefully the fans will keep their stakes put away for the time being.
Well, we're going to try our best. Let's see what happens. Either way, we can make do somehow with those wood stakes, you know. So
absolutely. 100%. So we'll jump right into it. Why don't we start off a little bit with the aforementioned Carnivore A.D. simply because that was the last time that you and I got to hang out when you were at Bar 13 in Wilmington, Delaware, performing down there. So let's just talk a little bit about Carnivore A.D., what's going on. But why don't you give the fans a little bit of history on them, because there's a very unique history behind it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that could be said here. Carnivore A.D. is definitely a good place to start. There's no doubt about that, at least as far as I'm concerned. That is my main thing that I'm focused on all the time. Where does one begin? The band's been in existence now for about 5 years, starting in 2017 by myself and the original surviving members as well. The idea was just simply to continue the Carnivore legacy and all the stuff that Pete did. In that time period and in that genre, and the music has to be heard. That's pretty much the bottom line. I really feel like I'm on a mission with this thing, and I've been for a number of years now. So it's a phenomenal experience and a tremendous honor and the most humbling thing imaginable for me to be up there, in Pete's role, performing his compositions the way he intended them to be performed, and the audience has been great. Worldwide, here in the U.S. and in Europe. There's so much going on in Europe, as we all know. So the band means the world to me, and the music means the world to me as well. And to the rest of the lineup, which consists of Chuck Lenahan, calling from the Crumbsuckers, and our newest drummer, Joe Cangalosi, formerly from Whiplash and Creator. We all go back to the old hardcore metal days, and we all grew up around Carnivore and have shared the stage with them and equipment. Stories go on and on and on. So we really feel like we're on a mission. I must say, it's hysterical if you look at the second Carnivore album, Retaliation. All three of our bands were actually thanked on the record. Sheer Terror, the band I was in at the time, as well as Crumbsuckers and Whiplash. So, it's a family thing. It's a New York thing. It's old hardcore and old metal scene, Lemoore, CBGBs. It's all about that point in time, I also always feel that even though this is a recreation of the Carnivore sound and we continue the legacy, I feel like we're also kind of paying homage to that point in time. Like I just said, CBGBs in the 1980s, Lemoore, where everything began, and where metal and hardcore really had the opportunity to flourish into what it is now. So. And also, as I always say, the band is for everybody that was there but wanted more, like myself, and also for the people that weren't there and wondering what it was like. So we're here to bring that to you all. This is what it was like, So even though you couldn't have been there, we're glad to have you with us now. Better late than never. So I can't emphasize enough what an honor it is to be doing this, especially for 5 years. And that the public and everyone is curious, is interested in hearing more, and that we're able to continue this. As we were mentioning earlier off camera here, the COVID situation totally knocked everybody flat on their face for a while and took us out of circulation for a little bit, like everyone else. So we're glad to be back in circulation doing this. We were thrilled to be back in Europe last month. We were out there for just for 2 shows, a festival in the Netherlands, Scum Bash, and a performance at the Bastard Club in Germany. Scum Bash, the Bastard Club. What are you going to say? No, So it was good to be back, and it was great to see that everybody still remembered and really cared, and it was a phenomenal experience. So we'll be back in Europe actually in June. I got a list of dates and plugs here. A tour of Germany to kind of pick up where we left off on the last trip. We can go over some of the dates later on in the discussion here. I have like a whole page of dates to plug here. It's just a shameless promotion here. But that's pretty much the gist of Carnivore A.D and the origins of it. To make a long story short.
Yeah.
And again, we're having a great time. It's a tremendous honor. The music has to be heard.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. There should never be a point in time where you can't walk into a venue or a festival and not be able to hear Inner Conflict or Predator.
Yes.
So even if we're not doing it, I would prefer if we were doing it, obviously. But the music has to be heard, and that's it. And we're here to make sure that it always will be. And
Absolutely.
and that's the bottom line. I see we have some bulletins here. European tour is on the way. That's right. Very good.
Absolutely. So, Baron, if you don't mind me asking, just because I feel it's kind of important to just to answer for fans that are kind of curious about it. So, in a time right now where where there is history of members of bands, different versions of bands fighting over names and stuff like that, what can you just let us tell us simply about the AD in Carnivore as opposed to being Carnivore? Was it to separate from, of course, Peter's legacy without, as an honor type thing, as opposed to simply using the Carnivore name simply as Carnivore?
All of the above. I mean, it was definitely out of respect for Pete, and to make it clear that it's an extension. We're not trying to take the place of anyone or anything like that. It's all done out of love and honor and in homage. So that's where the AD seems to really come in. It seemed to be what made the most sense between myself and the original members, Louis Beato especially. That was one thing that them and I remember we discussed about. The AD is definitely there out of respect for Pete and to show that this is, a different thing, although it's an extension of it. So it's very important. From day one, this had to be done in the most respectful, and the most personal kind of a way. And I think we've achieved that. We always make that point. It dedicated with love and honor to the memories of Pete, and also to Keith Alexander, who was the first Carnivore guitarist, another good friend, especially of mine, he was on the first record. So we want to make sure everybody remembers him as well. Everybody's going to remember Pete for a long time, but it's important to us and the surviving members as well that Keith's memory is, that he's remembered and that his legacy lives on as well. So, again, I've never been in a more humbling situation in my entire life. So I can't wait to go back and do it. I feel like I'm on a mission. I know this sounds corny, but I'm really on a mission. I can't wait to get back up there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess this is a different situation than bands battling with names and all of that. So that's a whole different other category.
Of course.
So, AD, Year of Our Lord, also, and it indicates, the ending of an era and the beginning of another one after death. It could be interpreted in a lot of ways. It just made the most sense. And again, it's just one big dedication, is what it is, And it's all about the music. It's got to be heard, and that's it.
100%, definitely. Angel.
I know we're talking about the European tour. Is there a U.S. tour also coming up, or other places that the band plans to hit that maybe later this year?
Well, yes and no. Technically, there's no consecutive U.S. tour planned at the moment, but there is our run in Germany, and then we'll be back again for another European tour in November, which will encompass a lot of the other territories as well, the other countries as well. I guess I could ramble on about the German shows.
Yeah.
It's basically a 5-day
Yeah,
run.
because you do
on,
have someone from Germany.
what's that? I'm sorry.
I
What was that?
think you
Angel?
do have somebody from Germany that's. I think they do have somebody from Germany that's watching.
Yeah. Hopefully we do. Yeah. Yay, Germany. I see right there. Absolutely. You know, Germany is a very, very integral part in the European metal scene. It's a very important territory, and also our agent is based out of Germany as well. So you know, it makes all the sense in the world, and Germany's really where a lot of this stuff really kind of springboarded from out of in the modern day here. But our tour consists of on June 21st, we'll be in Essen doing a show with Propane, which we're excited about, and then on 22nd we're over in Munchen, Germany, 23rd Kassel, Germany. The 24th, the Protzen Open Air Festival with Propane again. And we end it all off with a show in Hamburg on the 25th of June. So that should be a blast. As far as the United States goes, we have a very special event coming up on April 1st, which we did last year as well, where we're actually performing a Typo Negative set. This is the second time we've done that in its entirety. This is over at the Dark Force Fest goth, industrial, cosplay, fantasy event, a 3-day event over. I'm sure maybe you've heard about it. Over at in Parsippany, New Jersey, at the Parsippany Hilton, put on by the Vampire Freaks people. That's the name of their organization, featuring our good friend Jed Barrelson, the hardest working man in goth industrial. So that's going to be a blast. April 1st. We had a great time last year, and it's a lot of fun for us to do the type of negative songs. We even have a complete with keyboard player as well. Mr. Evan Stamar will be joining us on keyboards. He's the guitarist and keyboard player of Motorplasma, my crazy side project. So that should be a blast. And in addition to that, I'm also going to be hosting one of my Cemetery Cinema screening events on 2nd of April after the performance. So there you go. Run, don't walk. Everybody get over there. If you could bear to look at me for 2 days straight, that might be a horror story. That's pretty much everything that's confirmed as of right now in terms of Carnivore A.D. Stuff is always in the works. I'm always, I never sleep. We're always open here. So I'm always keeping busy trying to get all these things together. But as of right now, that's what's 100% confirmed, etched in stone, et cetera, et cetera. So we hope to see all our German friends and our friends in Parsippany, New Jersey at these events. So there you go. How's that for a long-winded answer, right?
We're all for it.
Good.
Absolutely, man. Let's talk a little bit about Hellbound books and Stokerverse and the comics, man. I mean, that's super duper cool. You know, your character, your writing. Let's dive into it.
Sure. I'd love to. My second favorite subject to ramble on about. The In Flesh and Spirit comic book series. And ironically, it happens to just be a copy of it sitting on my desk here.
Nice.
There you go. I had no idea that was there. And of course, the back cover here is pretty hard.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just.
What's that?
Oh. He's gonna make you the big. There we go. The big picture, so the fans can see the comic better.
All right. Let me do the shameless plug again.
Boom.
There it is. And then there's the back cover. This is the real me. Right now, I'm just faking it. But this has been an exciting project on so many different levels and so many different time periods, actually. Initially, In Flesh and Spirit was something I had put together some years ago and kind of forgot about. And it was initially, the interior was initially in black and white. But then during the pandemic, a good friend of mine online, Chris McCauley, who is the colorist of the book. Maybe I could show a couple of examples. Some of the colorization. Yeah, the resurrection of In Flesh and Spirit all began with my good friend Chris McCauley. And he was like, how would you like if I colored the comic book? I'm like, sure. And then he did. And as a joke, I asked him if he knew any publishers. And he did. And we were with one publisher for a little while and then decided to move on. But in addition to that, Chris is actually a writer and co-conceptualist of the Stokerverse. And the Stokerverse is the company of Dacre Stoker, who is the great-grandnephew of the original Bram Stoker, author of Dracula. the guy that started it all. So right now the book has been reissued in a limited edition format with some additional creepy content under the Stokerverse heading. So that's quite a bit. That's quite an honor for those guys to actually want to put out my work. They're currently working on a lot of great stuff on their own, where they're actually writing sequels to the original Bram Stoker and prequels in comic book form. So that's pretty intense. Tremendous honor for me to be with them here. And they refer to me as the Baron of the Stokerverse. So that's, I didn't have to threaten them or bribe them or anything, and they just do that. So that's a great thing. So currently there's an issue 2 in the making. There's been an issue 2 in the making for a while, but that's going to finally get off the ground. So more on that as it develops. And the book is available, like everything else, directly through me. Everybody, please contact me on Instagram or Facebook or Gmail, Baron Misuraca. And, we'll get you one of these out to you as soon as it's humanly possible. So, I've been a comic book fan my entire life. I have a hunch you guys might have been as well. I have a hunch a lot of our viewers out there are. And big fan of the old Marvels and the old Vampirella books. That's what this is paying homage to. And that's a big influence in terms of the aesthetic and the artwork and all of that. It was something I always wanted to do. And eventually I did it. And it's great. It almost serves as like somewhat of a demented, metaphorical autobiography of sorts, if you will. There's a lot of New York sequences, particularly in Coney Island, which is always a good premise for a horror show.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you want it to be or not. So, it's just a way of me giving you a little bit of a background of myself and keeping things interesting. So a real labor of love, and it's tremendous team of artists that I had on here as well. I'll run through everybody's name. Of course, Chris McCauley was the colorist, and he also contributed a very depressing short story to the end of the book in the additional creepy contents segment. We have, of course, the great Alex Horley as the cover artist. Alex is known for his work with Marvel, DC, Vampirella. The list goes on and on and on. You could do a whole other show about that, and you probably should. The interior, the pencils and inks were done by a great artist as well. David G. Williams, based out of Australia. Who else do we have here? So many people I can't even keep up with it. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, we had a great artist in Germany, Ash Corvida, that came in to do some touch-ups. There's some, female frontal nudity that the first publisher was a little bit iffy about. So I had her come in and she drew, clothing on the naked women and stuff. And did it in a very seamless way. So she's also the artist that worked on the cover for issue 2. So it's important to give credit where it's due here. So it's been a blast. And again, it's an honor to be doing this and working with the Stokerverse. So it's a beautiful thing, I know we had some, do we have some comments or questions here?
Yeah.
I'm just rambling through all the questions. I'm steamrolling through it here.
Yep.
But, it's a good question. Thank you for writing in.
And why?
Favorite movie soundtrack and why? There's so many of them. Let's see. There's a lot of them. Let me see which. I like all the Universal Pictures soundtracks, especially in the 40s when they had like full soundtracks throughout the films. In the 30s, soundtrack music was kind of limited and sometimes non-existent. If you see the original Frankenstein and Dracula, it's hardly any music. But the kind of stuff that they would have in the sequels of Frankenstein and Dracula, like House of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, some different composers. But I love that soundtrack music. I always liked the soundtrack music of Night of the Living Dead, even though a lot of that was kind of source material or public domain stuff. The way they got that together was great. The soundtrack that was recently added to Phantom of the Opera, not recently, it was created in the 1980s, and it was added into a more recent version of it, which was the version that I screened with my screening events. And I forget the name of that composer as well, but that's a phenomenal soundtrack. That is really something else. That really carries the movie along. So I'll leave it at these three entities here, because this could take up an hour and a half. Soundtracks. But what do you guys think? What are your favorite soundtracks?
I mean, for me, my two favorite soundtracks are The Lost Boys, and more recent horror fans might think of the more recent movie, but there was a movie back in the 80s called Trick or Treat that I loved with Sammy Kerr, the character Sammy Kerr. The entire soundtrack was done by Fastway. David King singing before he left rock music, left traditional rock music to switch over to Celtic punk with Flogging Molly.
Wait, did you say the soundtrack was done by Fastway?
Fastway. They did the whole soundtrack.
Fast Eddie Clark from Motorhead.
Yep, Fast Eddie Clark and Pete Way. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Okay, wow, that's cool. All right, very cool.
Those two I absolutely love. How about you, Angel? Movie soundtracks that you dig?
I like the Last Action Hero movie soundtrack, and the Blaze of Glory, the John Bon Jovi album. Yeah, because that was a soundtrack album.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
As always, I'm representing.
Last Action Hero is still.
Okay, cool. As always, I'm representing.
Last Action Hero because of the songs that was on it.
Right. Okay, that sounds good. I was saying, as always,
I did the title track. Last Action Hero.
Oh, for sure. No, totally. Baron, sorry, say that again. I think we have a slight lag between us and Angel.
Yeah, there is a slight lag. Yeah. No, it's all good. No, I was saying, as usual, I'm here to represent everything that was done before 1968. So, and I'm in a 1923 frame of mind lately because of the upcoming Hunchback screening event. It's actually the 100-year anniversary of the Hunchback.
Oh, wow.
Very special year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Angel, what do we got there, bud?
Oh, what does it say here?
No, I just want to thank Suzine for watching. I know it's 3 a.m. in Germany, so thank you for staying up.
Yeah, thanks so much for staying up. As you say over there. We'll have a great night as well.
Yes.
All right, cheers. Less Than Zero with Glenn Danzig singing the theme song.
Yeah.
And speaking of Europe, DK.
DK.
Those fuckers always rocking Europe.
Wow, excellent. Glad to have everybody here with us. Down the hatch.
Absolute. Cheers. 100%. Well, since we mentioned him, Baron, real quick, what of course I'm sure you're probably familiar, but of course Glenn is a big comic book guy himself with his own series of books.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with his comics, and what do you think of them if you are?
Yeah, I remember the Veritech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Back some years, it was all pretty graphic. I thought it was great. I unfortunately I didn't get to read tons of it, but I definitely liked everything I saw, and it definitely ties into everything else that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was great. My only regret is that I haven't seen more.
Sure.
So yeah. His lyrics were always very graphic. It seemed to tie into having some graphic, disturbing artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Influence.
But and before we kick it back to Angel, why don't you elaborate on cinema, on Cemetery Cinema, because
Sure.
You and I were talking off the air that it has a bit of that live Rocky Horror Picture Show feel to it, but it is obviously a completely different type of thing, but that you wanted to make it more crowd interactive. But talk about it and you hosting it, that kind of storyteller and horror MC vibe.
Yeah, sure. This was another thing, like the comic book, that I always wanted to do. So I pretty much did it. That's the meaning of life, to do everything that you wanted to do that makes you happy, right? I guess I shouldn't say happy to me. That's bad for my image here, but you know what I mean. I've always been a big fan of Vampira and the old classic films, as everybody knows. I just woke up one day and got the idea of, whoa, I think I'm going to be a horror host. I think I'm really going to try to pursue this. And I pretty much did. We're with Cemetery Cinema, we're focusing on the public domain films at the moment. Obviously, there's no budget for licensing agreements, but there's a lot of great stuff in public domain, like Night of the Living Dead, as we mentioned, The Phantom of the Opera. I figured I'm always rambling on and on about horror films, so I might as well do it on stage in front of other people, and supplement my income a little bit with it. And that's exactly what I did. The show basically consists of a public domain classic like Night of the Living Dead, Phantom, Hunchback, whatever. Starts off with an introduction by me, and then we get into a really cool question and answer discussion Then I run through a lot of frightening facts, quote unquote, that you never knew existed. And then sometimes I end off with a musical selection, depending. And it's been a lot of fun. I do a monthly over at the world famous Coney Island in New York, which is a very appropriate place for that. It's in the theater that they have down there, which is 100 years old, and we have a great set design, the candelabras and the screens and all of that. So it's really quite an experience. We're going to be opening up again in Coney Island in when are we opening up? In May, actually. Is it May? Yes. So we'll be back again on regular rotation. Obviously, they were closed for the winter, but we're back. And then, in addition to that, I do a monthly here in Long Island, which is where I live, which is the suburbs of New York. A wonderful venue in Freeport, New York, called the Sparkle on Stage Cultural Arts Center. And that's where we have the first Hunchback showing coming up on the 18th. So we hope everybody will run down there. That's the Sparkle on Stage Cultural Arts Center in Freeport, New York. A lot of plugs here, I know. Yeah, and it's a blast. I mean, I really get absorbed in these films for these presentations. I prepare, a manuscript and a script or whatever you want to refer to it as. I do all the artwork for the posters. I really live these films, up until showtime. And it's been great so far. A splendid time has been had by all. Getting back to the Rocky Horror Picture thing, we definitely want to encourage and have established that it's an all-inclusive kind of a thing. As I mentioned, especially when we showed the Ed Wood films, Plan 9 from Outer Space and Bride of the Monster, we encourage people to come in costume, and they have, which is great. Laugh out loud, shout, do whatever you want to do. This is it's a screening, but I like to think it almost has like the energy of a live musical performance to some extent. I mean, not to the point where nobody can hear anything and it's completely disruptive, but it's a real. It's for my fellow horror mutants. It's a safe haven where you could come here and really just get absorbed in the film. And we also offer the finest quality available on these films, high definition and fully restored. And my colleague Evan Strumar from the Typo Negative sets and Motorplasma, he does a lot of some finishing touches in terms of the editing. So you're getting the best quality of production in a film, which is a great thing. I mean, one may think it's funny to get for a film like Plan 9 from Outer Space or an Ed Wood film, which is known to be bad, to present it in the best quality, but
right.
But that's what we do. So there's nothing like seeing the old classics on the big screen.
Yeah.
So, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this project a lot. It's simple. It's a lot simpler than running a band or anything like that, or preparing a comic book. So yeah, it's my inner geek coming out as always in another way. So yeah, it's the best. We've shown, like I said, Night of the Living Dead, The Phantom, Hunchback is coming up, Nosferatu. That was the film I started with, and last year was the 100th anniversary.
Yeah,
it was a very special year for vampires. Although some may argue every year is a special year for vampires, but nonetheless, a lot of the Lugosi films, White Zombie, the list goes on and on. There's a lot of great stuff in public domain. Yes. So yeah, it's been a blast. I can't wait to get back up there and do it again. And it's going to be a lot of fun, especially to present one at the Dark Force Fest event that I mentioned, the convention there. So yeah, it's a blast. I'll do anything to avoid getting a regular job. So this is the latest example of that.
Totally. Have you ever screened the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or London After Midnight?
Well, London After Midnight doesn't exist, unfortunately. There are no surviving prints of it. There are just stills. So
that's true.
Yes, the Lon Chaney film. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a classic horror film's dream to be able to see a screening of that. Yeah, all that survives is just a handful of stills that you've seen online. Yeah, I mean that would be something else. And from what I understand, that's the case with a lot of Lon Chaney's films. He did like over 150 films, and only about 30 of them have survived in their entirety.
Yeah.
So it's really a shame. In those days, they didn't really think there'd be much of an interest for the film, especially when sound came into. They never thought people would revere these films, and it'd be 100 years later we'd be sitting here talking about it. So they just treated it almost like just yesterday's trash. Unfortunately, that's why a lot of them don't exist anymore. But Caligari I haven't shown yet. I got to make sure that that's in public domain.
Got you.
And when I say public domain, meaning that nobody technically owns the copyright or the trademark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's technically what that means. And a lot of films have gotten into public domain for different reasons, some ridiculous reasons.
Oh, gotcha. So is that so you're, I mean, this is an area of expertise for you, obviously 100%, because I'm starting to dabble into hosting more events myself, Angel as well. You know, we love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously the gothy vampire of the show anyway, and I love my horror. So I would love to play around with that myself. But is that a thing? Which obviously it sounds like it is. You can't just choose a movie and screen it to the public. Like there are channels you have to go through.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Not unless you want to get sued. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You can only screen a film, and I think the gist of it is charge an admission price. You know,
Okay.
Screen a film, for your friends in your house or whatever. But if you want to show a film as part of an event that you're actually charging the public for, there can't be a copyright or a trademark owner at the given point in time. So you do have a limit. I mean, obviously the big classics, The Mummy, Dracula from Universal, that is definitely trademark owned. And, and if you want to show that, you have to contact them and they'll give you a licensing agreement. You have to pay money for it, essentially. So, but things that are in the public domain can be used for anyone, for any purpose. So, and luckily there are a lot of great films. I mean, if you ever noticed, there are, in video and DVD compilations, Night of the Living Dead always pops up for some reason. Without companies, because there's technically no trademark owner of Night of the Living Dead, for example.
Gotcha.
Which is strange that that would be the case, and there's a whole long story behind that. But but that's pretty much the deal. So I got to watch it, otherwise I'm committing a trademark violation and subject to penalty.
Gotcha.
So if they find out, but still.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. Now that I think about it, yeah, because and you also mentioned how Night of the Living Dead pops up on a lot of compilations. I feel like House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price does often as well.
Yes, it sure does. Yep. So there's a lot of great films that are in public domain. Yeah, but that's another one as well. That was actually the last film that I had screened, which is a total scream, no pun intended. If you remember the film, the opening and all that.
Yeah,
that's definitely conducive to a Rocky Horror Picture Show audience participation thing. And there was a lot of that night, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
like when the old lady shows up and then just scoots across the screen.
Yeah, that really got a reaction out of the crowd. So it was one of our funnier moments. Nice. And a brilliant film. So luckily there are plenty of films that are in public domain and can be used at free will without having to to pay a licensing fee.
Gotcha.
And that's one of them. Long story short. A lot of these reasons why these films end up in public domain is for some reason nobody renewed the copyright. The way the law works is a trademark and a copyright have to be renewed every X amount of years, and for some reason, different reasons, a lot of times they're not renewed by anybody, which is very strange. Especially when you think of the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they're from Universal Pictures. Like I'm surprised Universal Picture dropped the ball. It's not like they didn't have any money to do it, But so those two films are in the public domain, and you could do whatever you want with them. But nothing that came after that, that's for sure. And the story about Night of the Living Dead was that because you're thinking that's not that old of a film, how could it be inspired? But the story was simply that initially, maybe part of the story. Initially, the film was going to be called Night of the Flesh Eaters. Mm-hmm. There was already a film existing called The Flesh Eaters. And they contacted George Romero and his crew and threatened them with a lawsuit. So then he changed the name at the last minute to Night of the Living Dead. But they didn't. They failed to include a copyright notification on the slate for Night of the Living Dead. And just by virtue of that put the film in public domain, which is a terrible story.
Wow.
Stupid thing like that. Yeah, I don't know if the laws are that insane now, but that's what did them in. Long story short. Eventually they made their money with Dawn of the Dead and all the sequels and the remake and all of that, but they got screwed totally out of that film and they didn't really make a dime from it. Being the classic that it was. Yeah. Very strange.
That's really strange for sure. Angel, let's kick it back to you for a little bit, my good dude.
Shall we go to Brian?
What does it
Did
say?
you
here?
ever meet Ari Lehman?
No, the actor that played Jason.
I'm sorry. Did you ever work with?
Yeah. No, I never worked with him, and I never met him. I've heard some good things about him, and I know I have some friends that know him, but no, I haven't met him. At least not as of yet. Maybe sometime soon, perhaps. Much to his dismay. Maybe.
And here's a
What's
question that's going to have both of you. Here's a good question that's going to have everybody thinking.
Okay.
Favorite Misfits dancing and I can't even pronounce it.
Favorite Misfits, Sam Hain, and Danzig song.
Yeah. There's so many great ones. I can name a few. I always loved London Dungeon, Bobby Steele's composition.
Yes.
Guitar player. That's always a classic. And a lot of songs from that early era too, to be honest. Attitude and Angel Fuck, Hollywood Babylon from that era. Everything on Walk Among Us is great. Even some of the stuff on Earth A.D. stands out. The song Earth A.D., Devil Lock, when they were kind of going in more of a heavier direction. But maybe if I had to pick one, maybe it would be London Dungeon. If I had to pick one, but that's tough, As far as Sam Hain goes, I've always been a very big fan. I remember even seeing the first Sam Hain show in New York City right after the Misfits broke up. As a small child, I was fortunate enough to be there when they had the members of Minor Threat playing with them. Favorite Sam Hain song? I always liked November Coming Fire. There was something about that record in its entirety. Even stuff from the Unholy Passion is a great track. Maybe a toss-up between Unholy Passion and a bunch of selections from November Coming Fire. It's hard for me to pick one out, to be honest. As far as Danzig goes, well, like a lot of fans might agree, the first three records were the ones that really just that's
just it's over.
Party's over. A lot of great. Twisted Pain was always great on the first album, right? Her Black Wings is great, with the part at the end that sounds like Zero the Hero from Black Sabbath, Born Again, right? So maybe I'd go with those two. Tough choice. Again, that could be a whole show as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I love Glenn and the Misfits. If I'm gonna be, if I'm gonna have a gun put to my head for my favorite Misfit Danzig song, it's gonna be Halloween. I just love it. I always have. I always have been. I'm a very big advocate for the Michael Graves albums. I really do love them. I like that direction, and I also loved that visual, because with Glenn, they had that horror edge to them, of course, with the Devil Locks, Jerry's makeup, and Doyle being Doyle. Yeah. But it was with Michael where all of a sudden you got that Misfits with like the real horror-ish looking zombie kind of creepy stuff going, and some music videos to boot, which I thought was always great, because that's what really locked me in, is all of a sudden music videos were popping up because George Romero directed Scream and stuff like that. But Dig Up Her Bones has always been my ride or die when it came to the Michael Graves era Misfits, and I love that song. When it comes to like Sam Hain, I mean, the Initium album is so good, and I love Macabre, and probably I'm also a big fan of All Murder, All Guts, All Fun.
Yeah, of course.
I think that one's just too funny for words.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it comes to Danzig, I mean, I'm with you. Like the first three in particular, but even with the first four still being the fully classic lineup, I mean, I'm probably going to go with Mother If You Force Me, just from the impact it had. It's legendary, it's iconic, but I'm also a big fan of Dirty Black Summer.
Yeah, another great song. Absolutely. So the bottom line is we like all the songs from all the albums, basically. So But a lot of great stuff. Like as you mentioned, I'm like, oh yeah, that one, of course. Oh yeah.
Exactly. Right. I just met John. Well, I just saw John Christ again. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, but he just did a local meet and greet. So it was really cool to hang with John again for a bit.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
I thought he was, when they first brought him out, I thought it was a great addition to the band. Really brought it to a different level, So
totally.
Great stuff.
Right back up to Angel.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was queuing back to Angel.
Oh, right on. I was going to say the version of Monster Man that they did with the great lineup, even though he didn't really sing on it.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. The punk Monster Mash thing that they did in the later lineup, I guess I'm definitely a purist and old school when it comes to the Misfits and with most things, to be honest, Yeah. I was actually fortunate enough to have seen the original Misfits live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Once again, it was a very, very small show, at a place called, which is long gone, Great Gildersleeves in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and that was the last time they played in New York City, and then they broke up soon after that. So I'm great memories of that. That's why I'm really a purist and definitely old school. But I gotta say that's probably the most outrageous show I've ever been in attendance of. I mean, the whole place was like wall to wall slamming and fights, basically. You couldn't stand any safe place from when you walked into the stage. The whole entire place was encompassed by all that lunacy. So I'll never forget it.
That's awesome.
Very fun.
And Bobby Steele is great. I love his wife Diana. She's sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. They are the greatest.
Like that, so
all the best of them. I've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with them a few times.
Oh, with the Undead?
Yeah, absolutely. An event called Batstock in New Jersey, which is a benefit for bats essentially, and some diseases that they catch and issues with the habitat. So it's been a lot of fun sharing the stage with them. All the best, I heard they recently did a convention, Nosferatu convention in Texas.
Yes.
That was yeah. So I'm sorry to have missed that. Next year. So Very, very cool.
My buddy Emilio has a great band called Dark Ride. He's been on the show before too, and they played Nosferatu Fest last year. And I've always heard great things about that.
Yeah. I mean, how could you miss Nosferatu Festival, right? It's just what could possibly be wrong with that?
No, nothing whatsoever. Sorry about that, Angel. Right back to you, bud.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's cool. It's all good. What goes through your mind minutes before you're getting ready to get on stage?
That I can't wait to do it. That I'm up for it. I have a job to do. Let me get out there and do this. This is really important what I'm doing here, especially with Carnivore A.D. This is where I belong. Everything else is irrelevant in life. That's how I feel. It's just a call to action. It's time. Something has to be done here, and I'm ready to do it. That's really how I feel, and with other projects as well. I really feel a sense of belonging. Performing in front of an audience, really, it's kind of like a family, not like a blood relation family kind of a thing, but the metal genre, the horror genre, it's kind of like a family, a big dysfunctional family, So it's good to be, amongst my people. You know what I'm saying? It's the most natural thing in the world. It's when I'm off stage and not ready to do anything. That's where the problems begin. I was born to do it. Let's get to work. Everyone in the band, we have a very strong work ethic about what we do. We really approach it with a good old fashioned work ethic. And just make it happen, get it together, and if something goes wrong, figure it out, fix it, and do it, and that's it. There's no excuse for anything less than that. So that is the mindset. So there you go.
And when you're out and when you're on the road with singers, the voice is their instrument. So when you're out on the road, what do you do to maintain your voice when you're out on the road?
It's something I'm always very concerned about, almost to the bordering on fanaticism. I just try to get rest. I'm not drinking anything, no running around. You know what I mean? It's already exhausting enough as it is with flights and all of that. So just try to schedule things and coordinate it, where there'll be less wear and tear, on my voice and us in general. So it's pretty boring, but I just want to get in the hotel, just lay in bed, until it's time to get up and get to work. I'm not really drinking anything, we're not looking to go out and party and get all, fucked up or whatever. That's not the case. So yeah, and then you just pretty much hope for the best. Anything is possible, right? But those little things. I don't smoke, obviously, so just try to really take care of myself. Exercise as much as I can at home. Drink tons and tons of water, like I'm doing right now. And that's pretty much the most you could do. Um, Sometimes the elements will take their toll on you, but I've been lucky so far with this, especially going overseas. I've been pretty lucky. I don't join in on any of the sightseeing. Whenever there's any rare moments for sightseeing, I'll just be like, I'm just going to stay here in the room and just make sure I can function. It's a tremendous responsibility. I have to keep myself in one piece. Especially as a vocalist. It's a very fragile, delicate situation to be in. So yeah, but that's something I think about constantly, and it's my responsibility to make it work. You know, so yeah, just be smart and drink water, eat right, get some rest. Vocal exercises, try to reduce swelling, humming exercises, also peculiar things. Yeah, but it's crucial. Good question. So I'm always thinking about that.
What I'm not sure if this is possible. Is it
Uh-oh.
possible to turn a horror movie into music? I had to ask.
Is it possible to turn a horror movie into music? Sure, and the other way around as well.
Into a musical.
Whether or not it'll be good is a different story, right? I think a lot of times when people try concept records, they try to do some sort of a stage production, it doesn't always work out, but it could be possible. Lyrics in a song tell a story the way a film does. So I wouldn't rule it out. Lord knows horror films have influenced The Misfits and Typo Negative and Carnivore and my original stuff, right? So that's yeah, I think it could be possible. I don't know if I've seen it yet in terms of something that you've mentioned, but I think it could be. Yeah. Did you have any ideas?
I can definitely see something with Freddy, because Freddy Krueger always used dialogue.
Yeah.
Where Jason did not really speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think something with Nightmare on Elm Street. And he was always comical with how he killed people.
Yeah, it could be possible. More and everything is developed, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And hey, Jason did not have like any lines, to best of my memory. Neither did that Michael Myers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah. It's food for thought now, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna kick it right back up to you, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. They were talking. My girlfriend's right here, and she's a huge Michael Myers person. She was like, "What are they saying about Michael?" I was like, "They were talking about the impact."
I was
of
not
those
saying
guys.
anything negative.
Yeah, no,
good.
not negative at all. They were talking about how guys like Jason and Michael can own the scene without saying any words.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Let's Baron, let's
they
talk
just
a
stare
little
at you
bit.
before they kill you.
Yeah, seriously, they just stare at you before they kill you.
Yeah. There you go.
Let's talk a little bit about Sheer Terror from back in the day.
Sure. Yeah.
And that area of those heavy New York style bands that you also mentioned, were thanked on Retaliation, which had to be such an amazing honor, just being thanked in writing, by your peers anyway, which is just got to be awesome. But also with what you do with Carnivore A.D. now, looking back on it back then, just has to be like, wow, that was really cool when they did it. Just as my peers of the scene, now I'm holding this legacy down and was still thanked back then. But let's talk about Sheer Terror from back in the day.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of good material for discussion here with everything you said. Well, Sheer Terror was where I got my start. I was just a bass player at that point in time, only playing bass for like a year and a half or so. That was my first band. The band had just been forming. We're going back to the year 1784, I believe it was. Sheer Terror was initially an extension of another hardcore band that had been around in the scene even earlier than that, called No Control, which featured the legendary Alan Blake, guitarist and conceptualist of Sheer Terror, and Sam Loman, the drummer. They had decided to go in a heavier direction and start incorporating some more metal influences into the band, and wanted to have a different bass player and vocalist. I remember I just put an ad at the music store where I was getting bass lessons, and received a call from Alan Blake. My ad said something like New York hardcore bass player into Venom and Merciful Fate or something like that, you know. And then he contacted me saying that that's exactly what they were trying to do, incorporate some of that sound in there. And you know, and then I came in and then we hit it off pretty well, and we started revamping some of their older songs and bringing more of a heavier sound. That's where the whole one of the things that Sheer Terror was known for in the early days was Blake's guitar sound had a very Celtic Frost kind of guitar tone, you know, which was never really done before by a New York hardcore band. So that was one of the you know, one of the claims to fame that we had in those days. And then we started looking for a frontman, and we came in the Village Voice. There was an ad in the Village Voice that we put, and then that's how we got legendary Paul Bearer, who's still carrying the torch. Sheer Terror still exists to this day. He's right in there, always has been. And that was the origins of it, and we pretty much did what we set out to do. It was a hardcore band, but it was influenced by Celtic Frost and a lot of the European sounds, et cetera, et cetera. And that paved the way. Maybe I shouldn't say paved the way, but that was right in there with a lot of the other crossover stuff that was happening at that point in time, where hardcore was like, a lot of this metal stuff, you know, is really intense and could kind of work here, you know. So we were right in there at that moment with what we did, and you know, we were thrilled to be doing it, and we're very happy with the sound that we kind of created or cultivated or mutated, and maybe that's a better word for it. So and again, this is CBGB's. That was the first performance. We actually it was the anniversary of the first Sheer Terror show some weeks ago, back in 1884. What's that?
Oh,
we have a little bit of a lag here. So I don't know.
Oh no, I think we're good.
Okay. So yeah, it all began at CBGB's, like a lot of other things, like New York hardcore began in the first place, and that's where I got my start. I always say, to me, CBGB's was in those days what the School of Rock, quote unquote, is nowadays to kids. They go to the School of Rock and they learn about being in a band. CBGB's was my School of Rock, and a lot of other people's as well. So it all springboarded out of that, and you know, a band that we were very friendly with at the time, as I mentioned, was the original Carnivore, you know, with Pete. We opened up shows for them. I remember I didn't even have bass equipment at the time, and Pete loaned me his bass rig very graciously. You know, he was a little surprised that I would have the audacity to come to a nightclub and play a show without equipment, but he loaned me his gear, and I never sounded better playing through his rig. I remember he was like, "You don't have any equipment? You do shows, but you don't have any equipment?" I'm like, "No, I don't." He's like, "All right, you could use it. You know, you got to get some equipment." So, and I took his advice, but so that was a great show. Yeah, there was so much happening at the time. Carnivore was coming into the hardcore scene. You know, 1984 and 85 in metal and hardcore and thrash is like the golden era, right? I mean, that's like the Renaissance in art, you know. So all that was happening around us, and I'm so happy I was there in my own way to contribute a part of it, you know. And also there, you know, with Carnivore and all that were the current lineup in Carnivore A.D. now, Joe Pangalosi and Chuck Lenahan. They were there as well in the Crumbsuckers and in Whiplash. So it almost seems like it's come full circle here.
Yeah.
Now here we are, you know, paying tribute to our fallen friend. You know, we saw her all the time, and we hung out with him and have so many fond memories, you know. So, and yeah, and being thanked on Retaliation was great. Quite an honor. I remember when I first started doing Carnivore A.D., I was going through like all the old footage of Carnivore, anything. I would look at anything, live versions, even interviews. And there was one interview where Pete's talking about he wanted Retaliation to be 50% Black Sabbath and then 50% New York hardcore. And he listed Sheer Terror as one of the examples of that. So I thought it was weird. Here I am. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm going through videos so I could learn his songs. And he's telling me that the songs that he wrote on this album are influenced by a band that I was in.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You know? So it was a beautiful thing and a very touching, so it feels like it's all come full circle, and
Awesome.
yeah, that was a wonderful time in music and in general. And again, I'm so glad I was there. So that's pretty much the sheer terror story. I mean, some years after the formation, I wanted to start singing myself, and I was more influenced by more of the metal stuff that was happening. Again, at that era in time, you had Hell Awaits just came out, Ride the Lightning, so and all the stuff from Germany, Destruction and Creator. So it blew me away, and I just felt that I wanted to focus more on something like that. And
Nice.
I went off and started my own band at the time, Desecrator. Long story short, very cheerful name. But we all remained friends, and it was very cool. Right before the pandemic, Carnivore A.D. and Sheer Terror did like a short run of shows with the two bands together. So
Nice.
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah. So
That's-
it's like we're all back together again. We're in different bands, and some of us aren't here, but it was really nice to have done that. So yeah, very very warm. It's funny that this kind of music can produce a warm feeling
Oh yeah.
about
Abs-
nuclear devastation, suicide, racial unrest, and all that kind of thing. But it definitely does, and it did. So,
Absolutely. And we love Typo. I've got my O negative proudly tattooed on my wrist, and we love Pete. Do you remember the last time that you got to see Pete or speak to Pete before his untimely passing?
yeah, I sure do. It was probably 2009. Typo Negative played. I forget what the venue was. A big venue in New York City, and I believe Celtic Frost was on that show.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Or maybe it was a different show, but I know they did some shows together that I saw them. And yeah, I remember getting backstage and seeing Pete. We were always happy to see each other. We always spent a little time chatting, catching up. He always had some crazy joke to say, whatever. He offered me a drink, and then he had to kind of tend to show him what he was doing. Long story short, I mean, obviously in his later years, we all know the kind of condition he was in. Right? So, um, I like to remember him from the early days, and more of the CBGB stories and all that. But that was the last time I saw him.
Nice.
I never had any idea that would be the last time I would see him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a friend of mine since 1984. Up until a year before he died. So I never thought anything like that would have been the case. I remember, unfortunately, when he did pass, I didn't believe it because if you may recall, like a year or so prior to that, he had put something out saying that Peter Steele is dead or something, doing a takeoff of the Paul McCartney is dead thing. That the
Oh
Beatles,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it was like a fake gimmick or something. I'm like, again, he's going to do this gimmick. He already did this 2 years ago. But sadly, I found out from reliable sources that this was not a gimmick. So what can be said about all that hasn't been said? It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, he should still be here doing this. We shouldn't be. He should.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's again, what can be said about all that hasn't been said?
No. Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely.
Definitely, man. And it's of course it's a discussion like that is always a sensitive subject. So Baron, we appreciate you touching on that.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great hearing from people at the shows. How much Pete's music meant to them. Because it meant the world to us as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why in some ways maybe the camaraderie that we feel with the audience, because sadly we are one of you.
Yeah.
We love this music also. We were there. We were friends, whatever. But this music touched us as well. So
Yeah.
it's really a shame.
That's your bubble.
But the music lives on. You know what I mean? So as long as the music is heard, he's still with us. You can achieve immortality through the arts and through music. So
Yeah.
the moment when the music is being heard,
yeah.
he's there. You know what I'm saying? So we do at least have that consolation. That's why it's so important that we keep playing the music.
Absolutely, 100%. What would you say, Angel?
Not just about the music, because it seemed like he just, like you mentioned, just gone way too soon.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I mean,
that shouldn't have happened.
just,
Yeah.
Good Go ahead,
And,
Angel.
you know,
Sorry, I think
You got to
a little
take
bit of that,
and
a
if
little
my
bit of that
memory,
lag.
right, just
Yeah. I'm hearing the lag as well, but
right, just went to my memory. He worked as a he worked
in
as the
Parks
garbage
Department.
man,
Yeah,
working like
for
the
the Parks
second.
Department in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so he liked working the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift. It was like, that's something that I did like doing.
2010.
But the music, man, and just a larger than life character, somebody that was like 6'7"
Yeah, no question about it.
on stage. We
Yeah.
never really saw anybody
Oh yeah,
that tall
no
on
question.
stage.
Yeah, no question. But I mean, to us, he was our friend from the neighborhood. Local hero.
Hmm.
Our friend from Lemoore. That's really how we viewed it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, he was a lot different than the persona. He was actually a very funny guy.
It's international women.
So yeah, gone way too soon, and it's a
Yeah.
crying shame. So,
I
but
mean,
again,
you,
We.
but we only got to see his videos like on Headbang, which kind of sucked about MTV being terrified to play Typo Negative during the daytime.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's kind of good for the band's notoriety, right?
Yeah.
It's so evil that it can only
Oh,
be played
yeah.
at night, and that's something kind of cool.
You gotta wait to watch Headbangers Ball to see the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember I waited, and then it came on. So it's a cool thing. Well, Pete always wanted to shake everybody up.
Yeah.
He would always say that that music, that rock music, isn't any good unless it pisses off your parents, the church, the school system, both the left and the right wing, law enforcement. You know what I mean? So he wanted to make everybody nervous and shake everyone up, and he totally did. So
Yeah.
MTV as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So who can argue with that? That's quite a goal that he had there with that, and he succeeded 1,000%. So I see we have an inquiry here. My biggest influence.
Who was your biggest?
Well, let's see. Well, I guess I always say the three bands that impacted me the most were Kiss, the Plasmatics, and Carnivore. So that really had a tremendous impact on me. Obviously, there's definitely a lot of a Carnivore influence in what I do. A lot of the goth stuff, Sisters of Mercy, Misfits, as we spoke about. Black Sabbath, of course, I'm sure is an influence to everyone that's into heavy music. So I would say those are the main ones as far as heavy music is concerned. I'm also into Sinatra and Elvis as well, and a lot of classical music. I did a project I did called the Vampire Lounge, where I sang all the Sinatra stuff. The project's currently on hold, but yeah, a lot of influences. And I like sounds, the sound of thunder and rain and things like that. So that's as well. So there you go.
Gosh, I'm gonna love this next question, but to make it fair, I'm gonna make
I
it.
hope I will too.
Had the feeling.
What's that?
Gosh, if you could wipe away one band's discography,
Entire discography.
entire one band, just wipe it out.
So a band that I'm not too fond of, in other words.
Yep.
Well, I hate to say anything disparaging about anyone. I believe if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. There's room for
That's why I
everybody.
figure I'd make it table just to be fair.
I'm gonna get my noble stuff here. Let's see. I mean, again, I really hate to criticize him, at least not on the air, but a band that I don't like. Well, I don't really like the Seattle grunge movement, to be honest. That definitely didn't really do it for me. Pearl Jam and all that, I really didn't like that. Maybe I'll say Pearl Jam, but nothing personal.
That's all right.
I hope you guys aren't fans.
Nah.
No. Heck no.
I'm sure they wouldn't like me either. So
You should ask about Halloween.
well, they don't see for me. Maroon 5. Fucking A.
What the fuck?
Like, what the fuck are they now?
But I'm not familiar. Right?
First, they started out as rock, then they became pop, then they became corporate pop, then they started doing duets, Then on their last album, they needed to have 14 producers and 30 something songwriters.
All right, I'm glad I missed it then.
Led Zeppelin, one producer,
I'm
four
glad we
songwriters.
missed that
Great
train.
album.
Yeah, I'm very glad I missed it. But
Maroon 5. How to suck? Get a whole bunch of producers and songwriters. Like, how do you make money?
okay.
No,
Again, I'm glad I missed it.
Like,
Yeah.
All right, cool.
No,
I'm trying to think of plenty of other bands I don't like, but we'll leave it at that for now.
right.
all right, now we gave Jay plenty of time to think about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him.
You know, yeah. You know what? I don't have to worry about me when it comes to stuff that I want to talk about or might be damaging to talk about. But we talked a little bit about like festivals that you have coming up, like Dark Force Fest and other things like that. But I want to bring up a festival that you played in Maryland a couple years back, which was Maryland Death Fest.
Of course, the one and only. Yeah. That was a blast right before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Maryland's a very cool place. We need to get there more often. That was a phenomenal festival. We had a great time. It was a very old school reaction, even though there was a lot of young people. I remember when I got there, a good friend of mine was there. He's like, "Oh, where do you see? It's like 1986 in there." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he was right. I went in there and it was like 1986. The slam dancing, the whole bit. It was great. Very professional group of people. Can't say enough things about them. I hope to be back again soon. I know they were bordering on, critical condition there for a little while. It's good to see that they're back up and running again. So, there's not a hell of a lot going on in the United States in terms of festivals. There's some stuff, but not a lot. And they were always one of the most important events. So, I hope they can have a long longevity moving forward. No question about that. So it was great, and we did a club show in Maryland not that long ago. I was trying to remember the name of the venue. Cafe 311. Does that sound familiar?
Oh yeah. Cafe 311 in Frederick.
Yeah, that's right. Before the pandemic, we had to stop there. That was a blast. So we'd love to come back to Maryland.
I think it's 611.
Yeah, 6. Right.
Yeah.
3 is 6. Well, they're multiples of each other, so it's
right.
So,
Cafe numbers.
right on. 611. Yeah, the guy Brian wrote.
Yeah, that's right. There it is. Thanks, Brian.
Maryland rules, and the Maryland Death Fest was great. I can't wait to be back there. If those guys are listening, please contact me and let's and please get us back there as soon as you humanly can. So if they're listening. But where's my favorite place to play?
Live.
Okay.
No, I mean that could be like the answer, like just playing.
No. Well, it's great to be playing. Period. But it's always great to play in New York City, right? There's no place like home. There's always a special kind of vibe with that. What's happening in Germany and Europe is phenomenal. I really feel like Europe basically saved the metal genre. They kept it going, even in the 90s when everybody was changing and getting into this and that. Europe kept the whole thing going, kept the old bands going. So, Europe is always a special place. I mean, every place to play is special. As long as there are people there that are into the music and give a shit, it's all special, really. So, I'll get back to your answer. Everywhere. As long as people care and they show up. So, what year will Kiss's farewell tour take place? I'm actually talking about this recently, and I actually saw the seating arrangement for the Garden in terms of what tickets are available and how much they cost. I'm a little bit shocked and heartbroken to see the ticket prices. They arranged.
People say,
what's that?
And people say money doesn't buy happiness.
Well, I suppose. Their tickets, the nosebleed seats are $900, and it goes up to like $4,000. That's a little bit. I'm not sure what to say about that. As for when the tour will actually end, they did say before that it was their final tour. some years ago. But then I remember Paul Stanley said, "Oh yeah, no, but that's the original. That's the final tour for the original lineup. But this is the final tour of Kiss in general." So, okay, so that was the final tour for the original lineup with Ace and Peter. All right. So I'll take him for his word. But for some reason, I have a hunch they'll be back again, though.
Yeah.
I think you guys, whoever wrote that, must be thinking the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vegas is going to throw them a whole lot of money to do a Vegas residency. And they're going to say, hey, it's a residency. It's not a tour. We said that was the last tour.
Right. So this is a residency. Yeah, there's always some nuance.
No more shows.
So that's cool. But you know, I was very disappointed to see those price tickets, to be honest. Really, you know. But you know, I mean, I'm a Kiss victim ever since I was 12 years old. That's why it's their fault that I, you know, what's that?
I mean, Lick It Up. I mean, yeah. Vinnie Vincent played on Lick It Up.
Yeah, yeah.
No, the same Brian. They died when Vinnie Vincent left.
Oh, you were sad to see him leave?
I just like the song Lick It Up.
Yeah, Brian commented that Kiss died when Vinnie Vincent left. I was like, I love me some Vinnie Vincent because I loved Vinnie Vincent Invasion, but I don't know. That might be a bit of a reach on that one.
A little bit of a reach, but that's cool. When you're a Kiss fan, you have to reach. It seems at times, you know. But well, Vinnie Vincent was great. The Creatures of the Night tour that he did with them, I thought he was great. I mean, it's not Ace Frehley; it was something else, but. You know, it really came across. I mean, maybe his character is a little silly, the wizard or whatever, but there was something about that lineup, that Creatures of the Night lineup, that was cool. You know, if you guys remember, they had gone back to the heavy sound, and they were done with the concept record, the pop album, and the disco. You know, although I did like the disco very much in 1979.
Yeah, me too. But that started a trend. Yeah, but that disco song started a trend. Yeah. No, but believe it or not, that did start a trend. Because they used Desmond Child on that song. Right. He wrote that song with them. And then remember, then in the 80s, everybody was using Desmond Child to write with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This actually started.
Actually, Desmond Child was on the Peter Criss solo album, I believe. And I think I heard the story was they actually brought him in to kind of appease Peter, who didn't end up playing on the record anyway, Dynasty, even though he's pictured on it, you know. But as far as a trend, there was actually, and I was talking about this last night, there was actually a disco rock trend happening before that. Remember the Stones, Miss You, and then Rod Stewart, Do You Think I'm Sexy? Like in '78. the next band to kind of put their play on it. You know? But I thought the song was cool. As a 12-year-old, that was mesmerizing to me when that came out. You know, and that was the first time that me being a Kiss fan where they put out new material. Before that, it was the solo albums and Kiss Alive 2 and Double Platinum, so it had been a while. And then that came out, and as a child, that just blew me away. But, you know, so, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the disco thing. It was still Kiss, right? I mean, it wasn't, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But, yeah. So a great memory there. And that was the first time I got to see Kiss also. So maybe that's why I have such a connection to that. At Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
$4,000 back then. In July 1979, but and also the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island as well. The summer '79 was a wonderful summer for me. So just so much for Kiss. Kiss is always going to come up in discussion, it seems, right? For better.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'll start saving up, get $4,000, and you know.
I'm gonna keep playing Powerball in hopes I hit it before.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So I mean that's fucked up, but whatever. So it's only money. So
right.
So yeah, I mean I guess Kiss started it all for a lot of people, right?
Put the right back up.
Yeah. I mean, especially Gene Simmons' persona.
Especially with the merchandising.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean they invented that outrageous merchandise. No band ever done anything like that prior, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know,
the lunch boxes, everything.
Yeah, the color forms, the makeup set. Of course, I had them all. The bath mat. Yeah, you name it. I was a Kiss victim, completely.
Nice.
So they really appealed to me because of the comic book element, the horror film element. I was always a big fan, even that far back, you know. So then here's like this guy on stage. It's an embodiment of all of that stuff. So it really reached out and grabbed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% for sure.
And a lot of
So-
other people as well. So
Oh yeah, definitely. Baron, and let's talk a little bit about your one of your other projects in Motorplasma.
well, Motorplasma is an interesting, fun project. The ultimate side project, where I'm performing the best of Motorhead and the Plasmatics.
Yeah.
I'm a very big fan of the Plasmatics, as I mentioned.
Me too.
Yeah, right on. I actually knew Wendy when I was a kid.
Oh
And
wow.
got to spend, some quality time with her, chatting and things like that, which are some of the most fond memories of my entire life. I know a lot of the band members pretty well. I played with them. We had in Motorplasma, we have Stu Deutsch, the original drummer, comes up and does some songs with us. In the past, I've jammed with Richie Stotts and TC Tolliver for actually an internet show that was aired some years ago. So I'm very happy.
We've had Richie, TC, and John on this show.
Have you really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Really? Get out of here. Okay. Very, very cool. That I didn't know. All right. You got to send me some links.
I will.
Maybe I've seen some of it and not even realize it was your show. Because I've seen a lot of your podcasts. But
yeah, definitely. Well, you're one of us now, bro.
Cool. Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. Another great honor. I actually spoke to Richie on the phone a few weeks ago.
Nice.
Prior to my going to Europe for the tour. So, always great to hear from them. So, yeah, during the pandemic, during lockdown, I'm sitting here, like there's nothing to do, nothing going on. The Carnivore shows are canceled. I'm getting depressed. And the only thing that would cheer me up was getting out my old Motorhead vinyl and Plasmatics vinyl. So I would be listening to that a lot. And then I just got the idea, like, oh, why don't I just go to the studio and play this with some people? And then, I thought of an old friend, Mark Del Cielo, drummer, who I played with at one time during my original project, Visaria, and another old friend, Evan Stramar, another Visaria alumni or whatever. And eventually we all got together and started to do it, picking out songs by Motorhead and the Plasmatics. And, we've done some, a bunch of local shows. Again, this is all just for a fun kind of a thing. It's not this serious thing like Carnivore A.D. into this and that. So all just based on fun. As a three-piece with the guitars doubling on keyboards for the Damned and Doom song. If you're a Plasmatic song, you know the parts I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and I was actually in Wendy's role singing. So I was actually the female singer, which definitely raised a lot of eyebrows. But I remember one promoter saying, "Oh, great! Are you going to wear electrical tape and shaving cream on stage?" I told him I wouldn't. But recently we've added an amazing front woman, the one and only Roxanne Aurora, who I think is listening right now, my significant other. So who actually is really doing Wendy justice. It's pretty intense. So that's a lot of fun now. So I'm pretty much doing the Motorhead stuff, and then we bring her out, and we get into the whole Plasmatics thing. So it's a lot of fun for me not being in the dual role for that portion of the set. I could really kind of just lay back and enjoy myself and go like that and stuff. And it really takes me back. It really feels like what it felt like seeing the Plasmatics on the Coup d'Etat tour.
Yeah.
Which I attended a lot of shows when I was a kid. It's a miracle all the stuff I was able to do that young. I mean, that's New York City in the 80s. You could be 16 years old and you're getting into nightclubs and things like that. So that's the gist of Motorplasma. A fun kind of a thing. They're definitely a project of passion that grew out of being locked up during the pandemic. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So they have it.
Do you guys perform the duet that Lemmy and Wendy did?
Oh, man, not at the moment. Yeah, I don't think Roxanne wants to do it. Yep.
Fair enough.
But we do some of the other ones. Master Plan, The Damned, Rock and Roll from the Coup d'Etat album. List goes on and on.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of fun. And then, like I said, then we have Stu Deutsch, come up and do some songs from the first album. He was the first drummer in Hope for the Wretched. So So it's a real project of passion. It's all about love.
Awesome. Do you guys do Ain't None of Your Business?
No. We leave it to pretty much the Plasmatic stuff.
Plasmatics, not the Wow album.
Yeah. We're sticking to that. And with the Motorhead stuff, it's mainly the Fast Eddie and Phil Taylor lineup, with the exception of Killed by Death and maybe Orgasmatry. So So it's a fun little thing. Something else to do here.
Absolutely, for sure.
It's almost good not having the ton of pressure on it. And everybody's very local. everybody's in the same area, so it's very easy, which is rare to say that anything in this business is easy. So that is. So thank you for asking about that.
No, of course, man. Absolutely, for sure. Angel, let's bring it back up to you and the fans. Fans, it's also going to be last call for alcohol, guys. So any final questions, comments, or just any curiosities that you want to hit Baron with, now is definitely the time to do it. We still got him for a little bit more time, but it is that time to wrap up the Q&A fan point part of the show. So it is last call for alcohol, fans. Go ahead and sling your comments, bomb them all in, because we'll definitely get to them. But go ahead, Angel.
I got nowhere to go, so
Just and just how fast flies.
I'm sorry. What?
Like that hour went by quick. No, just how time flies. That hour went by quick.
The next, let's see how quick the next few hours go. You know.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, sweet. So we'll be living after midnight.
Yeah. Like I was telling Jay, I'm definitely a night person. So
Yeah.
you know, and I'm in for the night here.
Okay, I got a funny question, but this came up today. Which are, about Jamie Lee Curtis saying that she would love to see matinee show. She could be in bed by a certain time. So is that something that you would ever consider doing a tour where you're playing like at 12 o'clock noon or 2 p.m. or something?
Yeah, sure. Depending what it is and what it entails. I mean, that wouldn't be my first choice for showtime, but yeah, it would depend what kind of tour it was. A matinee, like a film matinee or something. Sure,
Yeah.
if it was a good arrangement. That might be a good thing for the cemetery cinema screening events, matinees. Why not?
I mean, it's Michael Myers' sister, so she needs to be in bed by a certain time.
Right, that's understandable. Yeah, no, sure, why not? I would consider it. I mean, if anything is up for consideration, if it's something serious, it's worth at least be considered. That's how I feel. So yeah, sure.
Okay.
Who do I talk to about that? Who's booking that?
So as far as music, is there any new music to look forward to?
New music to look forward to on my end. Well, there's my
Yeah.
original band Visaria that had been around for a number of years. That was on Century Media Records for a while, which has currently been on ice lately. The Carnivore A.D. project is definitely an all-encompassing one, but that will be back at some point in the future. And Visaria was something that was definitely very influenced by horror film imagery, getting back to the music and film thing or whatever. The final chapter still has yet to be unwritten. So more on that as it develops. I kind of feel like it's kind of like at the end of the horror film, the monster dies, but he'll be back again, though. So that's kind of my feelings about this area. You can't keep a good monster down. It's just dormant. It's laying dormant in ice, the way the Frankenstein monster would be in some of the old Universal films. But but then he gets back and he's back up again. So that's something that might be coming soon in terms of new music, and that's all original music that I wrote. Pete didn't write it. Richie Stotts didn't write it. I actually wrote it. So so more on that as it develops, and it'll be definitely a heavier rendition of it. The Carnivore A.D. situation has definitely rubbed off on me and some of the other musicians. So that's something that's coming soon. Long story short.
Cool.
So there you go.
Now we'll kick it right back to Jay.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. So my girlfriend Megan actually has a question for you. So we had we were talking earlier about all the old school cinema. You should have to be involved.
That's great. Yeah.
Like the old school horror and stuff like that. And Michael Myers, though, is her ride or die guy. And she wants to know, have you seen the new Halloweens? Did you see Halloween Ends?
I haven't seen it. I hope to see it. I've heard some mixed reactions about it. I'm sure you've heard those as well.
Yeah.
I do hope to check it out. As I mentioned, my area of concentration is the old classics, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. But Yeah, no, I could see why that would be, her main thing.
Mhm.
Definitely quite a legacy behind that.
Oh
But
yeah.
but I haven't seen it. Did you guys see it? Did you like it? Should I
Yeah.
see it or should
Um,
I? Who should I?
well, here's the thing. I I see things in full. I can't leave things behind. Neither one of us liked the ending. To be honest, we kind of thought that
It was
that
anticlimactic. I heard.
it was very anticlimactic. We didn't like the way that Michael was represented.
Right.
We feel like they kind of punked him out. We basically felt they punked him out at the end.
Right.
Um,
That's pretty much what I've been hearing from everybody.
yeah, there. It was also a little strange because the movie was based around kind of a secondary character, and stylistically, it was very similar to something that Friday the 13th already did in one of their early movies, in my eyes, which was just a little bit strange to have a movie that was supposed to be, the end of this legacy based around this Michael Myers character, and it didn't seem like the movie was really about him. It really kind of seemed like it focused more on this secondary character. But I am a firm believer in, checking it out, forming your own opinion. Like by no means let me, sway anything. But
Yeah.
I definitely I definitely thought that they made Michael, they punked him out at the end. I was like,
Right.
yeah,
And that,
he definitely deserved better.
right. It didn't do the series justice.
Yeah.
That's the message just to what I heard. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I won't rush into seeing it then, but
Nah, no worries. Just take your time. It'll come across at some point. It'll be 2 a.m. and you'll be looking for something to watch and just be like, oh, that's coming on. Well, okay.
yeah,
You
that
know,
makes sense. Let it just happen organically without any
Yeah.
premeditation or anything. So that's cool.
Exactly. Is what are a couple of your, and again, I mean, trust me, you and I can talk horror for hours and none of us will get off the air.
Yeah.
What are some of your bucket list movies for your cemetery cinema that you want to do that may or may not be, public domain? Like, what are some movies that you would just really like to find a way to show?
Well, there are a lot. I mean,
Of course.
as far as that's in public domain, and I will be showing them eventually. A lot of the films that I'll be able to go see did in the 40s. They were more low budget than the Universal stuff. Not as bad as Ed Wood, but that kind of like that middle stage where he was like kind of declining, but he hadn't hit rock bottom yet. Films like Devil Bat and Corpse Vanishes, Phantom Creeps, things like that. So those are going to make their way in there. Anything that's public domain can.
Yeah.
So that's a no-brainer. But I would eventually love with Cemetery Cinema to be able to screen and host the Universal films.
Mhm.
All the originals and the sequels, the sons and the daughters, and all of that. Yeah, that would be phenomenal to do like a Frankenstein series and have all the films
Yeah.
one per month, for example. That would be something else. So that's definitely a goal somewhere. Again, that's not going to happen without some sort of licensing fee being paid by someone, but yeah, that would be the thing that I would definitely would
Just
love.
keep telling them the check's in the mail.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah. But, yeah. So those films definitely. Also, the Hammer films that Christopher did, which in a lot of ways were based on Universal, but they kind of took it in a more graphic and updated way, and in a more British way. Those films would be great to do screening events about as well. But again, it's all about budget than anything else. Maybe even have some of the surviving cast members join me. That's something that's been suggested. But there's no surviving cast members from films from the 1920s, obviously. So that's kind of limited. But something like that would be awesome.
Definitely. But that's also a really good segue for us as well. We talked about it off the air, and it's definitely current news that's definitely worthy of this conversation. But our love and prayers, but also condolences out to the Browning family. We recently lost our final Universal monster in Rico from Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's sad, but he'll live on. When we watch the creature.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the last guy. Time is marching on. That's what it tells us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nosferatu was turned 100 last year. Hunchback is 100 now.
Yeah.
left anymore. We are moving forward, unfortunately. But he's gone to universal heaven.
Yeah.
And the characters will always live on. So
Of
thank
course.
God we still have all the films.
Definitely. I mean, and of course, as we get older, unfortunately, the people that we grew up on are, we're older than we were. So
Right, yeah,
it's only going to get a little harder.
yeah, it pretty much is.
Hmm.
I try not to think of it that way. I just immerse myself in the things that I love,
Yeah.
and I try not to. I don't really focus on that, because I am over 700 years old at this point. So
Right.
because I only look 400, so that's kind of cool. But
Yeah.
that's very silly, silly humor there. But yeah, I try not to think about all that
It's
stuff.
good skin.
Yeah. Good makeup also, but lighting. No. Yeah, I just try to stay positive and stay immersed in the things that I love. I mean, and I think I can get through everything that way. I
Yeah.
really believe that. And the music and the art and cinema are right there, are in the forefront, and they never let me down. So yeah, that's one way to do it.
Oh, 100%. Did you ever see the Angela Lansbury version of the picture of Dorian Gray?
No, I haven't. Nope.
Okay. I think you would really like that.
Okay. That sounds
It's, it's done in black and white. Are you familiar with the story of the picture of Dorian Gray?
Vaguely, not as much as I am about some of the other classics, but
Yeah, no worries. So it's basically about this guy who has been living this really long life of youth because a picture that he keeps protected in in like the attic is changing and getting older.
okay.
And basically rotting and kind of mutating this picture of himself, the kind of rotting and changing and mutating
Mhm.
as it gets older to keep him young. But
Okay.
it's a really really cool movie. There's a lot of various renditions of it, but I love the older like Angela Lansbury version of it. I thought that one was just really exceptional.
Cool. Okay. That sounds great. I'll definitely look out for that.
So
Definitely sounds better than the Halloween thing there. So
right. Yeah, it's definitely more like old school and stuff like that. So
that's a great concept as well. So
yeah,
I guess we're all rotting away in some respect, but we're trying not to.
right.
If that makes any sense. But
Oh no, definitely for sure. And before I kick it back up to Angel to see what else we've got going, what can besides the since we touched on him before, let's kind of like circle back around to him. What do we have to look forward to? What can you tell us about 2023?
well, there'll be a lot of cemetery cinema screening events, that's for sure. As I mentioned, Coney Island will be back open again, and that'll be my second season there with Cemetery Cinema. So the whole thing is growing and evolving, and the following is increasing, which is great. The new venue here in Freeport, Long Island that I told you about is in full swing now as a monthly as well. So that's something that's developed since last year. So I have plenty of that to look forward to. Carnivore A.D will be doing what we do. With the passage of time here, the remnants of the COVID era are slowly, dissipating, which is good. Everybody's getting caught up now. So that's great. Very happy that this year, by the time this year ends, we would have been to Europe 3 times. With the one run last month, I think in June and in November. That's huge. So that's something that's going to be going on here. Hopefully, issue 2 of Flesh and Spirit might be together by then. That's always kind of done around everything else. So at times it takes a while for it to move forward. But yeah, that's what 2023 holds for me. Just more. Just bigger and better, and keep going forward in that path. Yeah,
Absolutely. And one of the things that I definitely got to touch on, because I feel like we can't not cover this topic. I mean, we got to talk about Coney Island. I mean, the history of like the sideshows.
yeah.
Did you ever get to go and like really experience those?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, not too far from Coney Island, and I worked there. not as a sideshow freak. Although every time I was working there in other positions, they all thought I was with the freak show, but I really wasn't. I worked as a bartender and also as I don't want to say carnival barker because that's considered to be a derogatory term, but one of the announcers in the rides there. So I have a lot of background with Coney Island. Actually, where we do the cemetery cinema events, that's where the Coney Island Freak Show takes place. Like before my show, like they're on essentially. Then there's an hour break, and then I come on. So I'm right in there with them, in a different capacity. A safer capacity. There's no fire breathing or sword swallowing or anything like that. I want to keep myself in one piece. So Coney Island is a New York landmark. It's nothing represents New York better, in my opinion. I have so much roots in there, and I'm from that area. It means the world to me. And then one of the big highlights of last year was my return to Coney Island. In this capacity. It had been a few years since I worked there and been there, etc. And they changed owners, not owners, in terms of art director and things like that. A good friend of mine, Adam, was a former performer. He's actually the art director now, and I think it's great the direction he's taking everything in. And he was very open to my idea of cemetery cinema. I just called him out of the clear blue sky, and he totally just signed me up, and just signed me up again now for this year. So it's great. It's in a great direction. There's so much history there from the past. As I mentioned, the theater where we're doing the screenings is a 100-year-old theater. If only walls could talk, It's going under renovations currently, but and it has been rumored to be haunted. So there you go. But if you believe in all that, what a concept, right? A beachfront community carnival, but in New York City, with that edge to it. I mean, that's what more could you ask for? So it's always a lot of fun going there. Just so many great memories and such a legacy. Always puts me in a good mood, and it's great to be performing there and doing this event. The techs, everybody's top notch. Stage manager, everybody's great. So a great bunch of guys, very professional. It's great to be doing it. I can't say no positive things about it. Hopefully, you guys, if you're ever in New York, let me know. Please stop by. Yeah,
definitely, man, for sure. And that's super cool because, of course, the legendary boardwalk, pier of Santa Cruz, was immortalized to a certain degree because of the Lost Boys, and it's very cool to have an East Coast, legendary, area like Coney Island with the history of the freak show and all the sideshow and stuff to be able to match on our side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, it's a treasure, no question about it. My character in Flesh and Spirit, his lair is in Coney Island, and there'll be a lot of that in the new issue. Like a really kind of vampirized, kind of decrepit version of Coney Island, kind of how it looked in the 70s and 80s. But just broken boardwalk planks with hands coming out of it, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So Coney Island is the perfect backdrop for anything related to this year. And again, the history is incredible. I mean, it goes back to the 1800s. At the turn of the previous century, it was a very exclusive place. It was burnt down a number of times, then rebuilt. The history goes on and on and on. So, it's great to be back, and I'm glad to be doing this there. And it's what better place to be showing, Plan 9 from Outer Space than on the boardwalk at Coney Island on a nice summer night. What could be better?
Absolutely. 100. Definitely, man. Angel, let's kick it back up to you, buddy. Let's clear the board if we've got anything up there for the fans, and also anything, of course, from yourself, my guy.
Nope, it's all cleared. All good.
No worries, man. Anything at the moment for yourself?
For me?
Yeah. Sorry, for Angel. Any follow-up questions from yourself, man?
No.
No worries. Absolutely. Well, Baron,
the audience riveted,
Yeah. All good, man. Baron, we can't thank you enough, man, for creeping out of your coffin for a little bit this evening to talk about all things spooky. But one thing we definitely want you to do is, of course, let everybody know again, where you can be found and where the fans can find Carnivore AD for booking, merch, anything they want to know.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned earlier, everything can be found through me, either on my social media pages, Facebook or Instagram, Baron Misuraca. I think it says my name here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. So, yeah, you can find me directly. Just write to me directly. The Carnivore AD page is Carnivore AD on Instagram. So, yeah, contact us, and either I'll take care of it or I'll direct you to the proper party. There's a separate booking agent for Europe, obviously, for the big festivals. So if anyone is interested in anything like that, please do contact me. We also like hearing from the public, from the fans. Anything you'd like to hear, any ideas, hate mail, probably not hate mail, but we're all ears. Same thing for the Cemetery Cinema Project. All of these are interactive projects, and it's all about the audience in all of it. With nothing that I do here is just about you just sit there and look at me like I'm an oil painting. I want everybody involved here. So that's pretty much that's something more you can expect in 2023 as well. So yeah, shirts for Carnivore AD merchandise, T-shirts, the Flesh and Spirit comic book series. Just contact me directly, and we'll get it all out to you. And we hope to see everybody at a Carnivore AD show, Cemetery Cinema screening, sometime soon. We look forward to that. And gentlemen, thank you guys for having me. It was definitely a great discussion.
No, thank you.
So yeah, the pleasure's all mine. We should do this every week, So
cool. Hey, happy to. I mean, just speaking for myself, man. Like, spooky things, horror stuff, that is right up my alley. So, dude, we could definitely keep in touch, Baron. You and I should collaborate on something.
Absolutely, right on. Sounds great. No question about it. Definitely talk more about that. I would love to get Cemetery Cinema out to Maryland, different states.
Yeah, there's some old theaters. There's one in Haverty Grace called the State Theater, which actually does that Rocky Horror stuff that I was telling you about. So stuff like that, I know they would definitely probably be up for something like that. It's an old, smaller but older historical venue. There's also places in Baltimore like Parkway Theater that have a lot of that have been around for a long time that do those type of old screenings as well.
Cool, that sounds great. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that. Offline, but yeah, I was looking for a good opportunity and a chance to be involved in this music and these films, So and we look forward to playing again. Maybe, I don't know, Cafe 311 or 611 or 911, whatever it is.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Well,
we totally look forward to it. But Baron, thanks again, brother. We appreciate you, man. We'll let you enjoy your evening, but of course, reach out anytime. Anything that you want to push, promote, or anything just in general to say hi, just let us know, dude. We got you. Your family now, so we will.
Yeah, right on. Thank you so much.
We definitely got you. And fans, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys as always. Live music is back. We had to wait for a little while, but we got it. So definitely make sure you're supporting everything that Baron's doing. Get out there and check out Carnivore AD and show a lot of love to their pages. We appreciate you guys as well. You can find Angel on his Twitter, his Instagram, and Facebook at Angel Alamo. You can find me at just a R&R Junkie on Instagram as well as on Facebook. And of course, you can find Psycho Steve and Bobby Dreyer as well on their pages as well. We will put out our guest announcement over the weekend, as always, for next week's episode. It's going to be another great one, and we do appreciate you guys, as always, supporting us and showing us a lot of love. And, of course, you get to meet me and Angel in Nashville, Tennessee, in a week for Rockin' Pod. We are really looking forward to that. It's going to be a blast, as always, so we really appreciate you guys for that. It's going to be a good time, right, Angel?
Yes, it's definitely going to be an awesome time. Looking forward to it. Just wishing somebody was coming with me, but maybe next year.
Of course. Absolutely, man. No, we definitely would want that for sure, man. But 100%. Thank you guys, fans, so much. And again, thank you so much, Baron. We appreciate you, brother. And
thank you.
Fans, thank you guys. We love you guys. Have a great weekend. Be good to each other. Horns up, fangs out. We'll see you guys in a week. Enjoy yourselves. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. All right, cool.
I think we're still ticking,
Hold
Angel.
on. Yeah, and
we're still on
Wi-Fi.
What we say, yeah.
I'll be able to edit that out.
Okay, good.